So you may have noticed that in the past 3-ish years, the tech industry has faced massive layoffs. In 2022, 93,000 jobs were lost. In 2023, it was 191,000. And in 2024, we saw over 95,000 jobs lost. And who knows what we're going to see in 2025. Some people blame overhiring, other people blame AI. But as one recent article pointed out that blew up on Hacker News, perhaps the biggest reason is a change in US tax code that kicked into gear in 2022. I should point out that I am not a tax law expert, but this should be enough information for you to understand the situation a little better. I really hope that I put this video out in time because there is a very real likelihood that things may have changed by the time you see this. I have to warn you guys, this is not going to be a typical Annie Sexton tech explainer video. If you're new to my channel, I usually cover topics about programming and machine learning and nerd things like that. But unfortunately, in today's video, we gotta talk about politics. I know, I'm sorry. To understand these changes, we have to go all the way back in time to 1954. Ever since 1954, companies have been able to deduct 100% of qualified research and development costs. But in 2017, all right, 1 year into the Orange Man's first term, Republicans passed a bill that changed how companies could deduct R&D, all right? And this includes software developers. Now, this change didn't kick in until 2022, 5 years after the bill was passed. And some of you may remember that year very well. It was rough. This change made it so companies had to amortize their R&D deductions over the course of 5 years. Now, what does that mean? So before 2022, if your company made $1 million in revenue, but your R&D costs were also $1 million, then your profit would be $0. This is a very contrived example, but just bear with me. But after 2022, after that tax law change came into effect, you would only be able to deduct 20% of those R&D expenses. This would mean that instead of $0, your profits were $800,000. All of a sudden, you're paying taxes on money you don't have. All right, you spent it, but the IRS is pretending that you didn't. If this feels like a weird decision, particularly for conservatives who are, not known for raising taxes on corporations, you wouldn't be alone, all right? In fact, this change has been widely disliked by all parties. So why they do this? Well, there is a rule in the Senate known as the Byrd Rule, which states that any tax law cannot increase the national deficit within a 10-year window. Now, the deficit can go up and down within that window, but by the end of it, things have to balance out. Why is that relevant? Well, the change in that tax code, known as Section 174, was actually part of a larger bill that permanently lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. That's a massive cut. Lowering taxes that much would have increased the national deficit beyond that 10-year window. So, how did Republicans propose to make up for that? By amortizing R&D expenses. The thing is, the plan was never to keep that change to Section 174, all right? Everyone just thought it would get repealed before 2022 came around. Nobody actually wanted this change, but Republicans were able to use it to pass their permanent corporate tax cuts. So why do we still have it? Well, if we were to repeal Section 174, then that means that Republicans will have gotten away with permanently lowering corporate tax rates without respecting that 10-year deficit window. So of course, Democrats are like, nah, that's cheating. As of right now, there's no consensus on how to make up for those taxes if we were to repeal the change to Section 174. So we're kind of at a stalemate. Now, there have been some bills proposed over the years to address the problems with Section 174, including the big, beautiful bill. Cool. Anyways, if you are watching this in the future, which how could you not, things may have already changed, all right? Who knows? I can't foresee the future. I'm not a tax or political expert, if you can't already tell. But I do think this is important to understand so that we're not all in the dark about what's been going on in the job market. Anyways, I'm done talking about politics and taxes. I promise my next videos will be much nerdier in a computer kind of way. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you feel like you've learned something, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.